Farm4Profit podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm4Profit podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm4Profit podcast.
Today on the Farm4Fun show from the National Farm Machinery Show in Kentucky with Suga Manufacturing, we interview a first-generation homesteader from Nebraska. He boasts 792,000 followers on TikTok, almost 300,000 on Instagram, 2.74 on Facebook, and almost 30,000 on Facebook. Please welcome Mr. Noah Young, a.k.a. Shiloh Farm.
Thank you for having. Some of those numbers are new to me. I didn't even know that.
Emma, that's fresh off.
Man,
Emma got
we keep
those.
the records.
You know,
Right.
in case you didn't know your numbers, that's where you're at.
Yeah.
Which is
You're almost
those
at
are-
a million.
Holy cow!
That's
How
a
did you
million
get
on-
that?
A lot of luck and a lot of consistency.
All right,
Just grinding.
Let's back up though. Who are you?
Okay, so I am a first-generation farmer from Nebraska. I started in 2018 and then started social media in 2020, pretty much when everyone else did with the pandemic. You know, working from home, got nothing better to do than start a farm, you know.
Really? And we also
Nothing better to do than start a farm. He just let that roll right off there.
Yeah, might as well. We also have Emma, Ag with Emma on the mic. Got to say that because it's another voice that you probably haven't heard for a while.
Yeah.
Not-
Welcome back, Emma.
Thank you.
I guess you never really left. You just do everything for us behind the scenes.
Exactly, behind the scenes. I'm never on the camera because I'm like, do you guys want me on? They're like,
Well, we don't know how to do that. We don't know how to do that like you know how to do
Emma's
that.
been living life to its fullest here in Louisville.
yes.
We'll just say that.
to its fullest.
Having a good time.
Yeah.
So, Shiloh Farm. Where did that come from?
Well, I wish there was like a really cool story to it, but it was actually just the road that we lived on. So Shiloh Avenue is where we live, but the name Shiloh means place of peace, and we always thought that was really cool. We're like, you got to take a minimum maintenance road and then another minimum maintenance road just to even get on our road, and so we're like in the middle of nowhere. And so we always it's neat. Like there's, you can go out and see the stars, and there's not a single light in sight. So it really is just a truly peaceful place. We're kind of blessed to have that nice little haven out in the middle of the country.
Have you always lived in the middle of nowhere, or is this a new thing for you?
Yeah, so I was born in Oregon, where we lived. It was Bend. It's actually one of the fastest growing cities in the country. And so we moved from there when I was 6 years old, and then lived in Nebraska. And yeah, we've always kind of lived in the country, except for I had 1 year where I was in college where we had a house in town, and I hated it. I hated it so much.
Where'd you go to college?
University of Nebraska-Kearney.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
what made you decide to go to Nebraska after Oregon?
He was 6.
Yeah, I was 6, so I didn't really have a choice.
Oh, right.
I just
Right,
kind of
right,
had to
right.
follow my parents around unless I wanted to live in the woods.
I mean,
with
if
the
you would have
wolves.
chose to go to Nebraska, I probably would make fun of you.
I mean, okay, so I'm like the worst person to represent the state of Nebraska because I travel all over the United States, and it's like, yeah, Nebraska, outside of Iowa sucks. But outside of Iowa, there's not a lot of other places I'd rather go.
Did
Nebraska's not my favorite.
Did you see everybody turn their heads as soon as you said that?
Well, I got a
Everybody
hat that
else
says
here
Iowa has
You
bad
know what
corn. I
shirt
was
you're
gonna wear
getting
that
after
today.
this is this.
Yeah. I was going to wear my
Everybody
Iowa
here.
has bad corn hat for y'all
Oh,
today, but
jeez.
yeah, that's all right.
Everybody here's pro Iowa except
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure of that.
I can't just be a yes man, right? So actually, part of my content's about that because I'm not a typical farmer.
Yep.
I feel like I'm in a blessed opportunity to be able to share a lot of the highlights of agriculture from a standpoint that, like, most people that are in agriculture, you know what's good about it and what's bad. But a lot of people don't understand some of the negatives of agriculture, and so I feel like I can approach that from a really good standpoint of like, yeah, I'm not trying to give you guys the rose-colored glasses. Like, I'm going to just give you the real honest truth of what it takes to start a farm, and always being honest and transparent about people or with people, and it's the honest truth. Iowa's not my favorite.
Wow.
So the 5-acre homestead,
Yes, sir.
first-generation homesteader, not necessarily just first-generation farmer, first-generation homesteader.
Yes, sir.
Why'd you pick the 5 acres? Just because it is all
Well,
the way back in the boonies?
Yeah, so actually my agriculture journey got started when we've always had animals growing up as kids. I mean, we had monkeys, we had raccoons.
Monkeys?
And, yeah, all kinds of just random animals running around the farm. My parents lived out in the country, so we had chickens and goats and little mini horse. But when my first year in college, I actually was super, like, first year in the city, really missed the home life. So we ended up getting a pair of chicks and ducks. And the heat lamp in that, I had them in our house for like 2 days. Heat lamp in my room, fell down, house went up in flames. So I had nothing. And so I was living back with my parents.
Wow.
I didn't have anywhere to live, so I was sleeping on their couch. And my dad's mom had actually just passed away, and so he took the inheritance from her and ended up buying this farm, this farmstead. And so I ended up renting that for my dad, and that's where we live now, and got married and just kind of started the farm on that 5 acres. So kind of a really sad story of like having nothing to then, the opportunity of being able to take over that farm was just a really cool, a silver lining in that awful experience.
So you said married, kids?
Yes, sir. Yep. Been married. I met my wife at 12, and so part of the reason I'm in agriculture is actually because of her and her family. Part of the rule to dating the farmer's daughter was to come work for the farm, so that was kind of my first introduction into working for a farm there. So been married since 2017. We have 3 kids.
Wow. How are we just going to glide over that they had monkeys?
I'm not
And
gliding over it.
raccoons.
Yeah. The raccoon wasn't that big of a deal. That one came out of a farm that.
How do you farm a monkey?
Well, we didn't farm the monkeys, but you do have to change their diapers 3 times a day. So that we've only ever had the
So
one
a
monkey.
pet.
Yeah, it was a pet. After that one monkey, we
You don't have monkeys anymore?
No, I've changed enough monkey diapers for one lifetime. I'm okay.
You can't teach a monkey to go to the bathroom?
Nope. You got it. We get the Pampers, and you cut a little hole in it for the tail to slide over. And
Right. They probably throw it. They probably throw their baby.
They're disgusting creatures.
What?
That is for sure.
I thought they were highly intelligent. Like you could train a pig to go to the bathroom somewhere.
Right.
But not a monkey?
I would bet a pig is smarter than a monkey.
Huh.
That's kind of wild.
Yep.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
My only experience with the monkey, I don't know what we were doing. We were down in southern Iowa, and someone had a monkey, and my little cousin Trevor was there. I think we were moving someone out of a house, and it was like up in the tree, and no one knew where it was, and it came down and bit him right in the hand.
Oh,
He was devastated. He was only like 10 years old. Like, he hates monkeys.
So
we had a monkey because my grandpa had a monkey, and he was a principal, and they had a farm up in Montana, and they had a bunch of rabbits. They brought a bunch of school kids over for a field trip.
Yeah.
They were going to show them the rabbits. Well, there was a line of dead rabbits. As soon as they got out of the bus, just an entire line of dead rabbits, the monkey would go into the rabbit cage, grab the rabbit, run up a tree, and just drop the rabbit right off the tree and just watch it die, and just played with them. So all these school kids are there to see these rabbits, and there was nothing but dead. It was awful.
Monkeys are nasty.
Yep.
Yeah.
I bet you didn't think we were going to be talking about monkeys on a farm podcast.
I didn't
did
know.
you?
But it reminded me, too, my wife grew up with raccoons.
Okay.
But they live next to a highway.
Yep.
And they had a couple hollowed out trees to where the coons, but then the mom would get hit on the highway, and so they'd climb up to the hole in the tree, get the babies, nurse the babies, continue, and then release them.
Yeah, raccoons are fun.
Yeah.
Raccoons are really fun. I like those.
They can still be mean, but she's had a lot of fun childhood memories.
Yep.
Of raising raccoons.
Yep.
Yeah.
Huh. Emma, you need a raccoon.
Maybe we should get a Farm4Profit raccoon. That
No,
could be the new mascot.
Emma needs a
I
raccoon.
feel like your little puppy dog needs a raccoon.
My
friend.
puppy dog basically is a raccoon.
That's pretty good. So now on the farm, you, your wife, 3 kids.
Yes, sir.
What's that look like?
So because we're in Nebraska, it's a big seed corn. A lot of seed soybeans are grown in that area. So the price of land is really expensive. And so it's really tough for me as a first gen to get started. Obviously the biggest issue with starting a farm is capital. And so we're not really blessed to be in that opportunity. So with this 5 acres that we have, I've really had to kind of integrate and grow value-added products. So what we're focusing on is growing a lot of vegetable produce. Then we do chickens. We've got some Scottish Highland, the mini cows. So just higher value. The mini cows you're able to grow on less land, less pasture. And so we're trying to focus on those things, adding bees to the farm. We're planting an orchard this year and just trying to really stack enterprises so that we can make the most out of the acres we have. And now I was able to actually, through social media, leave my job in December. And so now that I've got the ability to do this full time, my hope is that I can continue to find some acres and really make a go of it. But
What was the job?
I actually work for a cover crop seed company. It was with my in-laws. And so I was blessed to be able to work with them for, 10 years. Great opportunity to learn the industry. They're really focused on regenerative agriculture. So I got to meet a lot of really big farmers in that space like Gabe Brown and Ray Archuleta, and was able to learn from a lot of them. And that entrepreneurship spirit was really beneficial in me getting started here. And my in-laws were great, knew that this was a good opportunity for me to use social media to continue to promote agriculture, regenerative agriculture, and I'm hoping to be able to inspire other people like Gavin Spohr, which you guys had on. Just a real inspiration, kind of want to do the same thing, maybe 5 years behind him, just get started and show people that it is possible. You hear all the time, like you can't do it unless you're born into it or you're married into it, and hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, Snark and I were just talking this morning about the first gen and how social media, I think, has actually put new energy back into it, right, to show that it's possible.
Yep.
And in a lot of ways, and you don't want to hear me say it's easier because it's not, but it's a different perspective, right? Like, I had a farm to go back to. In a way, if I wanted to go back and farm, that's where I had to go, right?
Yeah.
And then you have perceptions in the area. You have unlimited wherever you can go, wherever you can hit your wagons and all that kind of stuff. So if you see these other people go out and do this, you know you can. And it's a blank slate.
Yeah.
Man. And if you hustle, right, you're going to get it done.
Yep. No, and I definitely understand that. Like, if you are raised in a farm and that pressure of like going back to that or taking, and I even think about, I'm blessed that there isn't like this huge weight or burden for me to take over a 5th generation farm or a 4th generation farm.
Yeah.
Like, that would put a lot of stress on my shoulders if you were taking that over. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for people that choose that.
You don't, like I said, you had a blank slate. You might not have that, like, oh, they'll never rent you that ground or sell you that ground because something your grandpa did.
Oh, yeah.
You know, or whatever type of deal.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, there's a lot of good and bad there.
Yes, sir.
Right,
Yes,
right.
sir.
So
I don't want to glaze over the mini Highlands, right?
Yes.
Mini cows.
Yes.
They got
states?
Yeah. So they've got the longer hair, fur,
Yeah,
hair, what?
You know when you go to Hobby Lobby or you're on a girl's Instagram profile and she's like really wants these cows. Those are the cute cows that everybody wants right now. They're the ones with the long horns, the fluffy cows. I'd like to get more this spring is my plan. They are so stinking expensive. Like, the market on mini cows has gone up so much, and that's it's something I want to continue to get into it and grow, but it's like, how do you do that when a cow costs $12,000 at an auction? It's a little tough.
So what's the end game? Are you raising them to butcher and make mini steaks, or are you raising them for?
Well, the pet market's so high on it that honestly, that's what we're trying to do is just sell the baby calf, because you can take a baby calf, take it to the auction, it'll bring $6,000 on a bottle calf. And so that's really where we're at. You can raise them for meat, but then you want the full-size Highlands. The meat's actually really expensive. It's super tender, but yeah, again, we're on a constraint on the land that we have. And so the mini cows, you only need about a half an acre per cow. And so that's kind of the plan there.
Have you been out there, Emma, to see him yet?
No, I need to go see him. So
I
that's
keep
why
giving
I'm
her a hard
sitting
time.
in,
She's driven.
Exactly.
We're
He's like right off the interstate, and every
6 miles
time
off the
I'm
interstate.
zooming, and it's like
It's going to make you look really tall, standing next to a mini cow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just ginormous.
This
You
is
could
a
ride it.
full-size
You could
cow.
ride that mini
How
cow.
how much do they weigh,
Full-size
like
cow.
full size?
Like a full size, about 800 pounds. So they're tiny. Yeah, you definitely wouldn't want to get a steak off one of them. It probably tastes good, but you're going to pay out the nose for it.
You would. I mean, it would
I mean, if
definitely
they're
come at a premium.
$6,000 as
Yeah.
a bottle calf, like, I
Yeah.
can't imagine the steak.
So how do you get income from the farm? Not on the social media side. What, right? You said your products. It's selling the calves. What else do you sell?
Sure. So we call our chicken business a nonprofit because it really doesn't make us a lot of money, but we've been trying to do that. The price of feed, obviously, everyone knows with eggs that it's gone up a lot. So we do sell eggs. We've got some Nigerian dwarf goats. We sell some of those. And then we're really focused on like honey because that's a low labor thing. You can make a lot of money there. So we're starting out this year. And then the vegetables. So we did a CSA program 2 years ago. Last year I was grinding on social media so much. It was really tough to be able to, I mean, I got home and I was filming or editing. And so I wanted social media to be my main income. So this year we're going to start up the CSA again.
What's the CSA?
Community supported agriculture. So in this case, it's a produce box. So people will buy a subscription. So they'll spend $25, $30 a week. They'll get fresh produce from locally grown farmers. So I partnered with a farmer in surrounding county, and so we pooled our vegetables together, and each week are able to deliver a fresh produce box to people. And I'd like to work in. We're doing broiler chickens this year, and so it'd be kind of cool to provide the meat for them as well, or even if we can partner with a local butcher that's able to provide us some meat. And then we could do basically like a HelloFresh or a Blue Apron, but local, you know, and keep things within 40 miles.
That is a really good idea because there's been a big push to like the local on social media, and especially with the HelloFresh boxes, like that's still getting more into the less grocery store. But if you're shifting it to like social media local kind of thing.
Yeah.
Corey and I had an opportunity to invest. Well, that might be a dramatic way of saying it, but on the way to the National Farm Machinery Show last year, we had a 2-hour conversation about somebody that wanted to start up a business like that, sourcing local ingredients and everything, putting it in a store, possibly linking it to a restaurant.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that's what's going to change the game for entrepreneurs, like young farmers that want to get into it, vegetable producers, is that idea of local, because a lot of restaurants and even grocery stores are looking at how can we advertise that we get things from a 30-mile area, and so that's going to open the doors up for us, I think, big time. And that's why even in 2020 people started growing gardens out of nowhere. Like, everybody was wanting to grow food, and so what we're trying to do, we put up a greenhouse this year. We applied for the EQIP grant. A lot of people don't know that EQIP will actually provide you with a hoop house. They'll pay for it. It's in their season extension grant. And so we're getting a giant greenhouse that we'll be able to put up and sell the plants so that other people can start gardening in our area too. Because we were like, oh yeah, let's sell produce. Well, everybody in 2020 was growing tomatoes in their backyard.
Yeah.
So when we got tomatoes, nobody wants to buy those. But then I was thinking, okay, they got to buy the tomatoes from somewhere, right? So why don't we just sell the plants to them and just keep the system going that way?
Have you ever thought about flowers?
We are, yep. We're going to do some cut flowers this year. In fact, I've got a buddy in Texas. He's Froberg's Farm, and they do cut flowers. They do cut flowers, and they make a killing on it because, like with zinnias, you got to pinch them in order for them to produce more flowers. Well, if you have somebody come there and they cut the flower for you, they're doing the labor, and they're paying you for it to cut those flowers, and they just continue producing more flowers. Yeah, there's a lot of money you can make on flowers.
The you-pick flower, you don't even have to go do it. You get a beautiful flower. I mean, you might be a little far removed from the public setting for that, but I've always thought about that. And the guys that just plant 60 foot wide of sunflowers on the edge of their field so people can stop and take pictures at them.
I think agritourism is going to be a huge thing in the next few years. I mean, you look at even like the show Yellowstone. Obviously, that's a little bit different. That's more on the ranching side. But like, look at the impact that Yellowstone, that TV show, has had on tourism for that state. Yeah. And I think that farming is going to be in that same. I mean, we're going to reap the benefits of a lot of that. People are interested in getting out of those concrete jungles, and they want an opportunity to come out, get their hands dirty, and see where their food comes from. That's going to be huge moving forward. And social media is just continuing to drive that as well. Yeah.
Well, in your social medias, especially with the homesteading aspect, like you are first generation, and we talked about the first generations, like with the big scale farming. But with that aspect that you provide, you're sharing those like the facts that people in the city can still understand and apply, because they can have a garden in their backyard, and you and Tyler Froberg are both sharing those facts that bring that. So that's just, I think, the other special aspect of what you do as well.
Well, and you asked like how I got to this point on social media. That was a big thing. I knew right away. I'm not a farmer, so I can't talk to farmers. Like, nobody wants to listen to me talk about a tractor. I don't even know what
you're talking to farmers right now.
Well,
Noah,
I'm saying from an informational standpoint.
How do you consider yourself not a farmer?
I do now, only because I know that I make over $1,000, and that's the actual the tax
Schedule
purpose.
F.
Yeah, that's the big thing I worry about is those tax write-offs. So I do consider myself a farmer, but to other farmers, it's a completely different. I mean, it's a different spectrum. I don't want people to get the wrong understanding that I'm a typical grain farmer, that I know what I'm doing. I've always tried to be upfront with people, like, I'm just learning in this field. And so that is why I try to grow my audience based on people that aren't in agriculture, and just introduce them to a lot of these things, and then bridge that gap between folks that are raising, thousands and thousands of acres. Like, I want people that are in the city to understand the importance of those big farmers, because I think those big farmers get a bad rap. And I want to be able to kind of bridge that gap and be a true advocate for the industry. That's kind of what I'm passionate about.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
And it's hard to do, because we've had a lot of guests on this podcast that have tried to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
We go back to the early inspiration of the podcast with Rob Sharkey, the shark farmer.
Yeah.
And his initial passion came out of an Illinois leadership project to try and bridge that gap.
Sure.
And very quickly he realized that most of his podcast listeners are farmers.
Yeah.
And it's not doing what it was.
Yeah.
That's the big thing this year, I think, with like reevaluating. Since I've started social media as well, it's like you have to you have to take a different jab at it, and I think we all need to start shifting, like, honestly, more towards this approach that you have to, like, you can't just preach to the choir, and if you structure all your content to do that, it's not going to be as effective.
Well, and that's the issue with social media today, is it's a giant echo chamber, right? And so you're only being fed what you're interested in. And so coming up with innovative ways to kind of break through that bubble that the algorithm wants to put you in, I think is what is going to set you apart as a creator. Is well, first off, being honest and transparent with people is always going to be the first thing. Like, social media, people know if you're being yeah, if you're not being authentic, like people are going to scroll past that so quick. So being truthful and honest is first and foremost the most important thing. And then just coming up with things that are going to be interesting to people that, I don't know, that they're not expecting, because we are so used to our day-to-day that we don't even know what other people, you know, in New York City or Los Angeles are going to find interesting. And so using comment sections is a great way to find inspiration, because people, you know, where'd that chocolate milk come from, that brown cow over there? It's like, perfect, that's a video right there.
Yep.
You know, us as farmers,
Yep.
we know that's silly. Like, why do you even think that? But, you know, 1 in 8 Californians believe that to be a real stat. So why not make an educational video about that?
Is that the actual statistic? It's
Yeah,
1 in
it
8?
might have changed, but at one point it was 1 in 8 Californians thought that chocolate milk came from a brown cow. And I think, to me, that's what I saw when I was in college in agriculture and ag business was, man, we've done a terrible job of educating people about this industry. And it's a fantastic place to be, but it gets such a bad rap, and we need to have that voice out there. And I think that's why social media is so cool, because all of a sudden you can reach millions of people that never would have stepped foot on your farm.
Right. Yeah, we struggle. Obviously, our title is Farm for Profit. So it's not going to pop up in a city person's Google search unless they're thinking, I'm going to go and try and start a farm, and how do I do it profitably?
Sure.
And even then, it's not the content they're looking for, because
It's stuff that's well familiarized already. It's
they're going to want
ag
what you're
audience.
doing. How do I get started? So it's interesting to see how people approach Shark Farmer Podcast. Catchy. I didn't know you could farm sharks.
Yeah.
And then you start listening, and you're like, well, this ain't about farming sharks
Yeah.
at all to begin with. But you also have a podcast.
We do, yep. And that was honestly where we started our podcast from. Me and Tyler Froberg wanted to do a podcast for a long time, but we're like, what? You know, if we just have people come on and talk about their life, there's a lot of other people like yourselves and like Shark Farmer that are already doing that. And what helped us kind of realize the inspiration for our podcast was our audience isn't farmers. And so what if we take the network that we've built through farmers and we give them a platform to talk to people that are in the cities? Or, you know, they don't even have to necessarily be on the coast. It's amazing to me. There's cities in Nebraska like Lincoln or Omaha that they don't know about farming either. And so I think it's called Farming for Dummies. And so we use that platform. We have people come on, they share their story a little bit just so that people know that they're the expert on that topic. And then we break things down in a way that a dummy can understand. And a lot of that was selfish for myself, because I'm like, okay, I don't know how to plant a field of corn, so why don't I have you guys come on and you tell me start to finish how you plant corn, and I can ask you the dumbest questions possible, because I don't know what I'm doing. And
Isn't
we
it
get
fun?
to act as the audience. It's a blast. We had a gal on from Australia to talk about milking camels, and it was like I never knew that was even a thing.
I think I listened to that.
Oh, it was so fun.
But
so
I
fun.
mean, if you think about the way, Emma, the way you started, selfish reasons. The way we started, selfish reasons.
Yeah.
We wanted to learn or get the opportunity to learn something.
Yeah.
And then it turns into more, because we had a stop on the way down to the show and got to record a podcast with a good friend of ours and explained to him that the motivation now is responding to the emails, the comment section. The content now that we put out is more directed to what somebody else wants.
Right. Well, when we say selfish, it's passion, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're wanting to do your podcast, Emma, and you guys are doing your podcast because it's something you're passionate about. And when you are passionate about it, that comes through, and that's why you guys are so successful.
That's the authenticity part that everyone's like, oh, these people love what they're doing.
And it goes back to the leadership that we talked to Steve Sukup about the other day. If you're passionate and you bring others up, a.k.a. your listeners, you bring them up, educate them, everyone wins.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that is one thing I love about agriculture is that everybody is winning. And I think people recognize that. You know, if your podcast is successful and I come on your podcast and we're helping one another out, like we're all growing and moving in the same direction. There's no competition. I think I love that about ag.
We got to get that through people's heads, because there still is like a cloud over the ag industry of just people being kind of pissy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, got their panties in a bunch, and they just, they don't like someone else succeeding. It's like, and I try to cut that out as fast as I can.
People are people block people.
Yeah.
You get the subtweets. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it, but I think there's more good than there is bad out there for sure, and it's just that those people tend to be the ones that are the most loud, right?
It's highlighted.
And so, it definitely gets.
I mean, we're talking about it right now.
Yep.
It's effective.
Yep.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And sometimes you have to be like the devil's advocate for some things, but not to the extent that it affects someone else's perspective about an industry that they know
Yep.
nothing about.
Right.
But that's what gets highlighted, so it's kind of.
Oh, we got an audience member here that said, if you don't have haters, you're not trying hard enough.
Thank you,
Not
sir.
everyone is going to like you, and if they do, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You know, it's like.
And I think that's okay. And that is something that, as somebody that's new in this industry, I definitely have maybe ruffled a few feathers from other ag creators. And I like that. I like
everybody
that,
from Iowa.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'll give you an example.
Sure, you ruffled a lot more.
Somebody that I really respect is Iowa Dairy Farmer.
Yeah.
Or Dan, sorry.
Yeah. Yep.
And I had a video one time about dairy cows, and he had an excellent response video to mine. He's like, hey, I like his content, but I disagree with him on this. I love that because, for one, it gave me a chance to learn, from somebody that's actually doing it and have the opportunity to see, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. Clearly, I don't. And it gave him a chance to have a response video. Like, to me, that I love dialogue. Like, I love it. I hope more of that happens. And yeah, if it comes from Iowa, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just giving y'all a hard time.
Oh,
That's
we
all.
know that too. We play against Nebraska ever since the beginning of this podcast.
Yep.
We love having. You gotta have a personality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I always find it funny. We have a rift between Iowa and Nebraska, and then like Illinois wants to come in and throw something. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Stay out of this.
Aren't you guys? You in Indiana have your thing, right?
Yeah.
You guys
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we can ruffle some more feathers with some hot takes.
Okay.
And Emma, you got to play along too.
Okay.
What's the first hot take, Corey?
Spotify is better than Apple Music?
100%. 100%.
I agree.
Oh. Yeah, you can't just nod. It's
No,
podcast. Emma.
yes. Well, they should be watching on YouTube because they would have seen me
should.
nodding.
See, she knows what she's doing.
Guys,
You agree? Spotify is better than Apple?
I agree.
I don't listen on Spotify.
You're an Apple person?
I'm an Apple person.
someone
Wow.
on the Farm for Profit was watching a bunch of YouTube music videos the other day because they're all over the place on our watch history. So I don't know who was using YouTube, but
That was probably me, and I was probably kids. I was probably pulled something up for my
yes.
my daughter.
A bunch of Coco
It
Melon.
was like Peppa
Who was watching
Pig.
Coco Melon on the
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, way to screw up the
Flippy.
algorithm.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we don't get views.
That's right.
It's the Coca Melon.
Oh, we even battled about this one on the drive down because we went through a town with this in the name of it.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce? I can't say it because then I say it.
You can spell it.
Do you pronounce caramel or caramel?
Oh, okay. So
My-
I pronounce everything weird. Like I say aluminium and basil and
What?
So I'm
Knife and
a,
muscle.
That's
Aluminium?
Australian.
yeah, I'm a caramel guy,
Okay.
but I know that's wrong.
My mom's a caramel lady, and I make fun of her for it, so I'm going to make fun of you for that for the rest of your life.
Okay.
But I'm a caramel.
Caramel.
What
Caramel.
about aunt or aunt?
Ooh, it's my aunt.
I'm an aunt.
My aunt Susie.
I think I say aunt.
Yeah.
I think I'm an old soul.
I'm also an aunt.
Snark, what are you? Aunt.
He's
Of course you
old.
are. Your name's Rupert.
Yes, we were driving.
Aunt Rupert.
We drove through Mount Carmel on the way down here.
Where is that?
Southern Indiana or Southern Illinois, right on the Indiana border.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were coming St. Louis to Louisville. So.
Well, how is it spelled? Is it Carmel or is it
It is. It's not spelled like
So
that.
it has
Scientist.
to be caramel.
It
It's
is.
not
And
caramel.
even Bushels and Barrels lives there, and he pronounces it caramel. So yeah.
Well, you brought up one of these already, and I think we're going to get your opinion. But what is Yellowstone is not a good TV show?
Oh, you want my opinion on the show Yellowstone?
Well, that's just the hot take. Yeah, Yellowstone's
Oh.
not a good TV show.
So, overall, I think it's done really good things for the industry. I definitely think there's maybe some misconceptions about the industry through that show. And I also know a lot of people in Montana that are maybe not as happy about it because of the land prices have gone up tremendously. But I think overall, I mean, when you look at where the industry is at before Yellowstone and afterwards, I think we're in a much better place. I think it's made a lot of opportunities for people to understand a little bit more about what we do. And so overall, I'm going to give it a thumbs up with a little, caveat. I'm not going to give it a full 100% approval.
Well, it's just what we were talking about. It's like trying to preach to a different audience. You have to do it in a different way, but sometimes it's not always going to be the best, but it's the gateway drug.
Yeah, I like that. It's a gateway for them. And so as long as they're interested and maybe they go find more information than just Yellowstone and that's not their perception of Montana just based on the show, then I think it's a good thing.
Because then Yellowstone starts trending on TikTok, and then another Montana creator posts that actually has like real factual based
They
stuff.
actually
and
have
then
a train
bam.
station?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's real. Did you know that?
I've never watched, so I just see the
I was
clips.
gonna call him out.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask him his opinion, and he's never seen it.
It must not be
But
that
I've,
good then.
I've never seen it either. We're two, 3 old souls here that have never seen.
It's
an
just
Well,
such a
episode of
you're
commitment.
not running the Ranching for Profit podcast,
That's
so that makes
right.
sense. You're all right. You're all right.
Yellowstone for profit.
No, I think
Yeah.
you guys need to watch 1883 before
Okay.
you watch.
1883,
18
I will stand behind. That is
Yes.
one of my favorite shows of all time.
Really?
I
It's the
binge-watched
Lonesome Dove
that.
of this
And
generation.
it's a prequel to.
It's
Yes,
like what
but it's
happened
Yellowstone?
before Yellowstone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's what I binge watched on the plane back from Australia. There's only like 13 episodes or something.
It's so
See,
good.
you're watching Yellowstone on the plane. You should be editing
Oh,
I didn't. Sorry.
your stuff, not ours.
can't
never
work.
seen it. No.
What's the Peaky Blinders? Okay.
I tried to watch that. I watched one episode and I didn't get into it.
Subtitles.
Why?
Accent is so thick.
Ah, you gotta have subtitles.
That
Because
accent.
the accent is sick.
Oh, I can't stand subtitles. I'm
All right,
I'm still too young.
But your mind adjusts to it. You don't read it.
See, I think anybody under 30 doesn't like subtitles, and then once you get to that point, you're like, okay, yeah, I like it. I like it. I'm getting to that point. There is a couple shows where I like subtitles are good, but
Yeah.
okay, all right.
All right, last hot take. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
I don't like pineapple, so I'm going to say no.
Okay.
But I also am not going to judge people that do because my wife does, and she'd be mad at me if I said
Emma?
that. So.
I like it sometimes. Yes.
It's
I had a
fun.
burger with pineapple on it, like pineapple and cheese.
Like a
it was
slice?
like, oh. It
Have you
was
ever had a
so
burger
good.
with a peanut butter on it?
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
I was
the
too
old
scared
Elvis
to try
Presley
it.
there.
Yeah. No, I.
Peanut butter and bananas.
Yep. Yep.
I'm a big fan of the pineapple on a pizza. That's my go-to pizza. If I get to order and I know I'm going to eat one.
Mine's Reuben pizza.
Yeah, that's good.
A
pizza.
Reuben pizza?
Yeah, sauerkraut. Yeah.
Oh,
See,
like
I
a
have this
corned
idea.
beef.
I hope nobody steals it. Actually, they can, but I want to come up with a peanut butter and jelly pizza because I think kids would really like
Isn't
that.
that just
'Cause
what an
all
Uncrustable is?
kids
Just
eat-
open face sandwich.
Yeah, but you do like little Nutella and maybe some like cinnamon crumble
Oh,
on top.
Nutella.
Like
That's not peanut
kids
butter.
only eat cheese pizza.
It would
That's the only
be-
option.
It
for
would be
kids.
like a dessert pizza for kids.
yeah, peanut butter and jelly pizza.
That's what the
Let's do this.
Uncrustables are. It's like a personal pan.
We always called those breast implants because that's literally what they look like. So I
small.
try to stay away from those.
That's funny. So I want to go back into you now and what you guys got going on. So your wife, does she help on the farm or what's she do?
She does. Yep. We're blessed. She's able to stay at home, and that was kind of part of the making the leap from working for my family to working for myself was being able to continue to have her be able to stay home with our children. We're incredibly blessed to do that. So yeah, she stays home. She's actually been giving her text updates on the greenhouse when she needs to run out and open a door or water her plants. So yeah, she helps out a lot.
It's very cool.
Yep.
So, just to like not, if all the social media stuff, because if you are just working, like social media is your main sort, does that scare you?
It does a little bit. I feel like I did a pretty good job of diversifying before I left. So I have several different income streams. You know, I'm not just relying on TikTok or Instagram. There's a couple different ways that I'm able to make money. So yes, for sure, if one goes down, I'm going to be stressed out about it. But at the same time, you can't really live your life constantly in fear. I did think about that. There's a consistent paycheck when you work for somebody else, a 9 to 5. But at the same time, you're not guaranteed that next month either. It might feel a little more comfortable, but, you know, I can go a month and not get a brand deal or a sponsorship, and then the next month get one that paid for the last month. So there's no reason to live in fear with these kind of things. As long as you're being smart and you're responsible, I definitely try to just give people the encouragement that just take that leap of faith because at the end of the day, the thing I'm most proud of is if I work for somebody else for 65 years or, you know, until I'm 65, I've built somebody else's kingdom. You know, I maybe have money at the end of that, but I built something for somebody else. I would rather work my tail off, and if I get to 65 and I don't have any money, but I have something that I can pass on to my children, to me that's totally worth it. And that's why I wanted to start this was for my kids. Right when COVID happened, you know, I was around my family every day, and that was amazing. Like I didn't like having to leave them every single day, and now that I'm able to work with my kids and plant seeds with them every day and put stuff in the ground, like collect eggs, that is the most rewarding thing to me. So if I end up social media goes away, like I'd be hard for me to go back to working for somebody else at this point.
But could you go back? Is there a spot at the in-laws?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. They've been super supportive of that whole industry, and they're in cover crops, and the cover crop industry is growing tremendously. So I don't think they're in any position where they're not going to be hiring.
That's a
I'm
nice
not
safety
sure.
net then.
It is,
So-
yeah. That was definitely helpful.
Now, have there been succession planning discussions in the in-laws operation?
Absolutely. Yep. Their business, they started in 2008, and they have grown. I think they have about 50 employees at this point. So
Wow.
it's a huge operation. And yeah, there's definitely ways to take over from that if that was ever on the table.
Is your brand deals or like your residual better?
So
income?
I do a lot of UGC content. That's honestly where the bulk of my income comes from. So UGC stands for user generated content.
Okay.
So places that want, a lot of these companies are getting into TikTok and Instagram. They don't know what they're doing when it comes to creating video content. And so they're paying creators to make videos for them that get posted on their page. So the residual stuff, I try not to rely on that too much, only because then I'm so focused on views.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really dangerous game to get into is looking at that view count. I'm mostly focused on creating good quality content. Like make the video that I made yesterday, I want today's video to be better than that.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm focused on that, I just don't want the money side of it to tie into that too much. So yeah, definitely brand deals. Like make sure that the brand is happy with the content that I produce, and then the UGC content.
So if somebody listening would like to start making UGC content, wow, where do you start reaching out? Is there inboxes for this?
It's pretty tough to get into, but there are different places that you can go. Actually, Indeed is one where you can apply for things. There's a place called Backstage. Go Ventures is one. It's a tough gig to kind of get into, but yeah.
How do you decide what you're worth, what your time or that video is worth? Or
That's a really good question. I have set rates for what I do typically, but it does kind of depend on the brand, and I'm very selective about who I work with. That's kind of a nice thing. When you get to this point, you're able to choose. Well, I say get to this point. I've actually always been that way. I don't like to work with people that I don't align with or respect or use their product.
Right.
And so, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a tough thing to figure out how much you're worth, but I always try to go high and then work your way down and never undervalue yourself.
I think what we've found on the podcast side of things is a lot of people are too cheap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Well, and it lowers the market too, right?
Hurts
Because
everyone
then
else.
all of a sudden, if I'm selling an ad for $10 and you guys want to do it for $50, well, they're gonna come to me, and that just lowers the price of the market. So that's my advice to creators: is know your worth. There's different websites you can go to find that.
Even that phrase is so hard.
Yeah.
Know your worth.
Yeah.
Because it may feel like a lot.
So you'll have people that'll start reaching out to you when you start creating.
Yeah.
And whatever they send to you the first time, just double it.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to do it, they'll say no. But half the time,
They'll always do it.
they'll either take it or they'll counter. And like you're not out anything.
Well, and I would say piggyback on to know your worth is also know what that is worth. Like they are coming to you because marketing marketing on print is dead. TV, no one's watching TV anymore. So you are the next way of marketing.
A good way of looking at it is the Super Bowl just took place, and the average cost for a Super Bowl commercial was $7 million, and you were looking at 115 million people that were watching that Super Bowl. So all you got to do is take the math on how many views that Super Bowl commercial got and how many views you're getting on average. That's a great way. And then a brand can't argue with that. You can be like, look, this is how much people are paying for views.
And you can take it a step further because Super Bowl's fallen on deaf ears.
Yeah.
People that are watching your content want to watch
It's a higher,
exactly
higher percentage of your market. You're reaching exactly who those brands are after. And like Shark Farmer, like if you want to partner with Shark Farmer, you're getting farmers. And so that is worth more than if he's just reaching everybody and anybody.
And I think people definitely get a little content creator, like a company messages you, they're like, hey, we have some free stuff, can we send it to you, post it on your story? And I think a lot of creators are forgetting, like, you can ask them for money. That's what I forget, because when I get DMs, and so I don't know like how often you get those, and you have to like counter back with, yeah, you can pay me.
Yeah.
Well, and you have to remember too that that's your product is your brand and your image.
Exactly.
And the more brands that you bring on, dilutes that, and so you're affecting your brand by taking those free things. So it's not really free. You're paying for it with your brand.
Yeah, it is a fascinating balance. And if anybody wants to reach out we're welcome to help. I mean, we just know that we're better together, we're stronger together, and it's just so hard. Back to that know your worth category, because
your worth is always changing too, because your followers and your views are changing.
It is, and an honest opinion and actual product use, and just whether or not you truly believe in it can go so much further. But just like you said, when you talk large ag companies, you're a drop in the bucket. But it presents so much opportunity for everybody that's listening.
Yep. My biggest advice to anybody that's getting started is just creating that network, because you said your value's always changing, and you don't know necessarily what other people are getting paid unless you talk to them. And so I have a lot of creators. We message back and forth all the time. Hey, this company reached out. How much did you offer them? And how much did they offer you? We may not have the same amount of followers, but you can gauge, okay, they're lowballing you. No, counter, because I know they'll pay this much. And so having that network, I don't think brands like that. They don't want other people talking, but it's like that's fair for the industries to figure out what everybody's getting paid.
It is, but it's
We've
the same
had this
thing.
conversation so many times.
It's the same thing that happens in agriculture. You're telling me that farmers aren't trying to find out what they pay for cash rent on other acres?
Yeah.
It's the same in banking. You don't think we're secret shopping what interest rates are on checking accounts and loans? I mean, every market is doing this, so why not use that data and information to leverage who you are?
Exactly. And you can't do that unless you have a network of people that you're close to. And I think social media is great at that. And there's not been hardly anybody I've reached out to that has turned a cold shoulder to me or said, yeah, I'm not really interested in sharing that. We're all interested in helping one another out. So,
We've
reach out to you guys, reach out to me.
And it's such a rewarding feeling after the fact. It's hard in the beginning when you get a company that tells you, nope, that's too expensive.
Yeah.
It's at the time you're like, oh, crap.
But some other company is going to pay that.
Well, it just is an eye-opening and a great experience. Well, I know. Go ahead.
You just said something, Emma, there that's really important. Some other company will pay you that. Like, I guarantee you some company will pay you what you're asking for. It might take a little while. You might have to send a lot of DMs, but they will. Yeah. They'll pay you.
So we've asked a lot of questions. We didn't have a super ton prepared today. So what did we miss?
Not much, man. I feel like, I really just, anytime I get on something like this, I want people to be inspired. If they're a current farmer, to share their story with other people. And if they're a new farmer, that it is possible. That's all I'm here for, man. I just want people to be entertained. I call my content edutainment because I feel like that's important too. People get caught up in just sharing information or just being funny. I think it's important to blend those two, and yeah.
So if people want to follow you on your platforms, look you up, track everything down, refresh everybody, how do they look you up?
So I am on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at The Shiloh Farm.
Shiloh, Shilo?
HFARM.
Okay. God, you slid that extra H in there.
Yes.
I'd have missed that.
Slid in.
It's all right.
It's not a silo, but we can't be done yet. Every guest gets asked the same question.
Okay.
We're probably going to end up changing this question pretty soon, or maybe we're going to already change it.
Full.
Getting a lot of them.
We're going to get plenty of answers. But what does success mean or look like to you?
Waking up in a warm bed, in a warm house with my family, full health, and then being able to provide for them somehow off the land and be able to pass that on, build something each and every day that I can pass on to the next generation.
Very good
answer.
That is awesome. I would
so
also.
you're living success right now, like.
I wake up every day and I'm just like, I can't believe this is the life I get to live. I'm tickled pink.
I would also suggest our listeners to possibly write us and tell us what you want to hear on the next question.
Yeah.
Right?
Next
something deep.
ending.
Have you guys shared your definition of success yet?
It's ever changing. We got asked a couple times yesterday. It goes back and forth between family and work, and it's same thing. It's just having a great family at the end of your life, having grandkids to watch, and being able to offer the opportunity for maybe them to come to the farm. That'd be mine.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you weave in the aspect of the networks that you've built up, whether it's customers at the bank, listeners on the podcast, friends from social media, just the fact that them knowing they can rely on you, ask a question, pump with advice, but also feel comfortable to give you criticism.
Yep.
To me, that's what success for me in a relationship looks like, is not fear.
Yep.
The ability to be able to take and receive and no expectations.
I'll give you my non-shallow answer, since that was like the deep normal. Sounds like that's the one
Yeah.
everyone's been given. My real definition of success is I don't want to have to wear the same pair of socks twice. Like, I want to be so rich that I can just every single day buy a new pair of
Popping
socks.
tags.
Wouldn't that be? Because I love slipping into a new pair of socks, and then I want to own a yacht. So if I get to that point, I'll feel like I'm successful.
But you can be successful
In Nebraska.
up until
I want
Do
a
you have
yacht
any
in
interest in?
Nebraska.
You have any interest in owning a jet too?
No, not really.
Oh,
All right,
that's-
can we convince you?
That's one thing that we
because
put.
we would like a jet.
That's
a jet?
success
Because we
for
want
us.
to get access to so many more people.
Sure. Yeah. The problem with that's true. But then if you got a jet, you got to have a pilot that you got to pay for.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta-
Success.
You got to have a
That's
yacht person that drives your
No,
yacht.
I'm doing it myself.
Okay.
I'm doing it myself.
Well, we're going to fly the plane ourselves.
Oh god.
well, one of these days y'all can fly to the yacht. We'll have like a little.
Yes.
It'll be big enough you guys can land your plane on it.
There
I
we go.
love this. I'm glad you came over. This was a lot of
thank
fun.
y'all for having me. It's
glad
an
we
honor.
got it in. You've been on the list for a while. It's just always fun to do them in person.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it worked, even though we didn't plan on it for today.
Absolutely. Privileged to be here. Privileged.
Which is great.
All right.
Corey?
Crack a beer, crack a Busch Light. You deserve it.